It's like I remember in my batch itself back in college, there was
Hmm.
obviously like a very weird ratio we had in film class. There were maybe, I don't know, 8 girls and some 22, 24 boys.
Sure.
And all of us wanted to work on set. Obviously, that's why you would join a mass comm or a film school. And a lot of us ended up taking desk jobs after that. A lot of my friends are in corporate, they do advertising. Very few of us actually work on set. And the kind of stories I hear from women and what I have lived through, it's so different from what men go through. Something as basic as 80% of the sets do not have female washrooms.
Hey everyone, my name is Porush, and this is the fifth episode of the Long Live Cinema Show, a podcast where I try to speak to people who don't just love the art of storytelling but are also the creative practitioners of this art form in their own ways. And for this episode, which is the fifth episode, I got the chance to speak with Manasvi Singh Chauhan, who is an assistant director, and she has worked on projects like Gullak, Paglet, and Jadugar. And she also has a couple more projects lined up. And you can also find her on Instagram as the Jaded Smith. If you are interested to know about what truly goes behind the scenes when it comes to shooting a film or a series, you should definitely not skip watching this podcast. We talked extensively about the process of filmmaking and what all challenges one has to face as an assistant director, what all challenges are faced by an assistant director when it comes to completing a project, when it comes to managing the entire shoot. I mean, we talked on a lot of topics which actually reveal the true process of filmmaking. So, if you are interested in all of these subjects, this is going to be a great podcast for you. And in case you like what you see, make sure you hit the like button, share this podcast, and also subscribe to Long Live Cinema for watching more such episodes and video essays. Without any further delay, sit back, relax, and let's start the show. The first things first, I first of all, congratulations for your social media uh success, I would say,
I'm so
because
surprised.
nahi, but seriously, you should I like you deserve it. Like, your content is, like, I don't have to say it. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. It's reaching to so many more people, and so many people are able to understand what you want to say, and they realize what is actually happening. And you were mentioning about a new project on your Instagram stories, that you've gone for a look test. So is this like an acting job, or this is the same? Like,
No, so basically, in every film or a show, or sometimes even ads, actually, once I lock my actor, like let's suppose that I cast you for a role, then we have a series of look tests where we basically do hair makeup trials, we try on different costumes. Basically, we establish your look for the film. So on a look test, I'm going to try different levels of haircut, different levels of beard if you're a man, and try out like all the scene wise costumes that in scene 5 you're going to be wearing this, etc., etc. It's also where a palette is set, usually, that what kind of colors this person is going to be seen in. Usually one look test is enough, but I feel like usually for a lead actor the number of changes is way too high. Like in my current film, the lead is has some 30 changes, so you can't do that in one look test. So then
hmm.
you keep like 2 or 3 follow-up trials and stuff like that. It's this wardrobe hair makeup thing basically.
All right, all right. So, starting with your job as an assistant director, because I'm sure everyone who's going to watch this episode, or everyone who's watched a film, have always read assistant director, and
Yeah.
थोड़ा थोड़ा आइडिया सबको है कि अच्छा, असिस्टेंट डायरेक्टर, अच्छा मतलब डायरेक्टर को असिस्ट करता है. नो, बट देयर इज, आई एम श्योर देयर इज अ लॉट मोर थिंग्स दैट आर हैपनिंग. सो कैन यू प्लीज elaborate and help us understand what is the real job of an assistant director?
So basically, to simplify it, your job as an AD is to execute your director's vision. That's the essence of it. Obviously, in direction team, we have 4 to 5 ADs at different posts. We have a DA who's the director to assistant to the director, which is which can depend from project to project. Usually, these are the people who serve as a link between the rest of the crew and the director. They also take care of script to a certain extent. If there's any rewrite happening, stuff like that. Referencing, like DAs do a lot of referencing. If my director tells me that he wants a certain kind of lighting, the DA is the one who's going to be making a mood board for it, who's going to be watching multiple films and taking out references from it. Then we have a script supervisor who's responsible for continuity, for dialogue, stuff like that. That's actually a different department. I don't know why they're considered to be in direction team, but it's a very, very detailed job. Coming to ADs, so basically at a very skeletal level, we have around 4 ADs. We start from the third AD, which is you usually start as an intern AD or a third AD, depending on the kind of a project. So these people are responsible primarily for handling your background extras, basically the crowd or the featured extras. Like these are the people that you photo select. For example, if we are shooting a scene right now, us talking, and somebody is supposed to tap my shoulder and say, "Excuse me," that will be a featured extra because he's interacting with me. So I'm going to see a photo or get an intro video and cast this person. So third ADs are responsible for this. They are also responsible for vehicles, which is picture vehicle and background vehicle. Background vehicles are cars standing somewhere behind me. Picture vehicles is something that I am driving as a character. They are responsible for weapons, if you have any. They are responsible for animals. So essentially, a third AD is someone who's supposed to assist the second or second if their departments are too extensive. The second is the next in hierarchy. This is a person, as I said, who's responsible for wardrobe and hair makeup and prosthetics, if applicable.
Okay.
So technically, because these departments are so related to your actors, this AD also handles your cast. When I say handles, I mean what are the shoot dates? If I'm shooting on 5th of May, is my actor available? Let's say my actor A is available, but are all the other actors available on the same date? Then let's say you agree to shoot with me on 5th May, but I want you without a beard. But you are already in the continuity of some other project, so you can't shave that beard off for me. So stuff like that comes under the second, that whether the look is right, actors. As a second, I remember I even used to check with actors कि अच्छा scene में दाल चावल खाना है. Are you not allergic to dal chawal by any chance? Stuff like that, because it happens all the time. Actors are very particular about their diet, as they should be.
Of course.
So second is primarily that. Obviously, these hierarchies change a lot with time and from person to person. So the hierarchy I follow in my film might be different from yours. So somewhere second ADs also make the call sheet, which is something that I used to do, which is a very important document. But a lot of first ADs still make their second ADs do that. So this is a very new age thing. We'll make the second do the call sheets because second ADs are usually very busy on set. But second is more of a base job. That once your actors are ready and they are gone to shoot, you don't have much to do. So ideally, you're the right person to make a call sheet because you can take our time for that. Thirdly, then we have the second AD. I don't know how to describe this because I have seen very overworked second ADs who handle everything.
Okay.
It's like whatever nobody else wants to handle is going to fall in your lap and you can't do anything about it. And department-wise, it's essentially primarily you're supposed to handle locations and production design, which is art. But most of the films have VFX. Most of the films have some level of stunt. So stunt, special effects, all of this comes under the second AD. And ideally, in a good scenario, your second AD should be someone that if the first is not there, then they should be able to take over in running the set. So you're also supposed to help a little bit with scheduling, all of these things. The top of the ladder is the first AD, most stressful job. It's crazy. So these are the people who basically build their own team. They make the shoot schedule. So जो आपका first draft बनता है किसी भी shoot schedule का, it's usually as per the location, and you try to stick to the script as much as you can. Your ideal schedule is that we shoot in the order. That we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Never happens. Okay. It's so then you prioritize based on location or actors. That there are a lot of projects where say X actor can only give us 30 days in a row. So we are supposed to shoot those scenes first and then we move on. Or sometimes a location is available in a certain order, so we shoot as per that. this keeps getting complicated the more you prep, because there will be combinations where location है, actor नहीं है, actor है, location नहीं है, दोनों है, बारिश हो गई.
Right.
So stuff like that keeps happening. Dates keep changing. If an actor falls ill, locations get bounced all the
Right.
time. So first ADs handle schedule. First ADs handle special equipment, in the sense कि shot breakdown के time पे what kind of a shot you want. Do you want to use a jib for that? Do you want to use a low loader, special equipment like that? Seconds also help in that, but primarily first ADs deal with this because they are the ones who sit in for the shot breakdown with your DOP and the director. And once the shoot starts, they're responsible for running the set. So anything that goes right or wrong is a first AD's responsibility. Even actually, on some sets over here also, but usually abroad, if you're shooting a stunt sequence, the crew safety and the car safety is the first AD's job. They'll make the first AD sign a circular that if anything happens, I'm responsible. Which here it's not the case so much, but some of these new age OTT platforms have started doing that. And as a first AD, you need to balance it out between that you're kind of fulfilling the director's vision also, but you're also not disappointing the production team.
Correct.
So it has to be okay, creative vision is happening, but money is not being wasted.
Right.
So that is a very good sense. In fact, if you're a great first AD, you can also become a good producer going forward, because you understand the logistics very well. The foundation of ADing is that you need to be fucking organized. There's no other skill that comes. Everything else you can learn. You do one project, you be on a set, you will learn to understand what they mean when they say something. And set terminology is hilarious. The first time you go on a set, you're just going to be like, what are these people saying?
Right.
But being organized is something that I feel like is hard to teach. Either you are organized or you're not.
Not organized, correct.
Some of the best ADs I know, they are that good because they know how to make an Excel sheet, and that's it. Their Excel sheet has everything in it. If I make an Excel sheet and for some reason I can't come on set, my Excel sheet should be enough. No work should be stopped.
After hearing all this, I remember this thing that Quentin Tarantino mentioned in one of his interviews, that as a director, like, you don't have to be like so qualified just to make a film. As a director, you just need to find the right people who will do the job for you. Guys, this is the job. Okay, this is the job. So I mean, this is so, like you just mentioned, ki the first time when you are on set and people start bouncing around these terms ki ye karna hai, wo karna hai, and you, so gosh, I mean, whenever like, this something that I wanted to share, ki it takes 2 years to make a film, but it takes 2 minutes to just say it's good or bad. And that is when I feel कि यार कुछ थोड़ा सा तो सोचो यार. I mean, you cannot just say a film is bad just because your Instagram reel was not working. But yeah, but my next question, which I think you have already answered, but still I would like you to elaborate a little further. Ki, can you take me to a day at a film set? What happens, like, let's say call time schedule ho gaya and everything is done. So let's say tomorrow, Tuesday, 23rd May is a day of shoot. So what is going to happen? How are things going to happen from sunrise to sunset, or uske baad bhi, something like that? And of course, you can like describe it as vividly without compromising any kind of confidentiality. So over to you.
So there are 12-hour shifts, and let's say tomorrow it's a 7 to 7, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So in India, there's a thing which a lot of Western industries don't follow, because Western industries believe in ethical working hours, which we sometimes don't. So it's a given, at least in Bollywood, that if it's a 7 to 7, everyone is supposed to come at 6. That is a buffer that you keep, because on a 7 to 7 shift, you're supposed to roll by 7. That's not the case abroad. In a 7 to 7, you're supposed to roll by 8. People
Okay.
are supposed to come by 7. Because over there, they are very particular that we are not going to work for more than 12 hours. If we do, then we are going to charge overtime for it, which is something that happens here also at the later end. That if we go past a given wrap time, then people do charge. But in the morning, it's a norm that for a 7 to 7, you have to come at 6 because that is when your actors will get ready, your setups will happen, camera will be mounted, etc. etc. So, ideally, if tomorrow is my shoot, I will go an hour prior. There are certain departments that you give a pre call to. For example, if the lighting is tricky, then my DOP is going to tell me that I need 2 hours to light this in order to roll this at a certain time. Similarly, art setup might take longer. So then you give them a pre-call and you can obviously charge for that. There are people who come at 5 a.m., 4 a.m., depending on that kind of a thing. Once we are there on set, all ADs kind of scatter in their respective departments. As a second, my job was to just reach and make sure that my actors are on time. So that because most actors take at least 30 minutes to an hour to get ready. They'll come, they'll have breakfast, they'll rehearse, stuff like that. While I'm doing this, my second AD is probably checking out the art setup, whether all the equipment reached or not. My
Right.
first AD is sitting with the director, figuring out the sequence of the shoot. What are we going to start with? If there are juniors, then the third AD is getting those juniors ready. So that 1 hour is basically ki nashta kar lo, sari prep kar lo. Then if in a very good scenario we are on time, we
Okay.
roll at 7. Never happens ever, by the way. We always roll late. Something goes wrong. And we always start with this basically, we roll this Ganpati frame. You cannot start a shoot without that. It's very common. And it's something that people genuinely believe in. Like, people genuinely feel that things will go wrong if you don't start with that.
So
Which,
is that so sorry to cut you. Is that
yeah,
the
yeah.
is this different from the Muhurat shot or is this the Muhurat shot?
This is the Murat shot.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So, but this happens. So, on the first day of the shoot, this will be a more elaborate thing. But then, till the last day, you have to roll a Ganpati still. You just have to. That's what you start with. They'll either ask the director or the first AD or some HOD to break a coconut and then it'll be served to everyone.
Okay.
And people take a lot of offense if you don't eat that coconut. When the prasad is being circulated, I remember I tried once. I was like, no, no, I don't like coconut. And everyone was like, what?
Right.
So, yeah, it's a sweet thing.
Okay.
And then, yeah, then you start rolling. Ideally, again, day wise, also, you try to schedule the shots as convenient as possible. So, let's say that I'm an actor who's shooting a scene in this costume. I will try my best कि इस costume का सारा scene पहले कर लो. Then I change into something else. Otherwise, I have to keep going back and forth. That you have to achieve with all actors. That nobody is doing a back and forth. You shoot in continuity, basically. Then around, again, there's a strict rule abroad that after 6 hours you have to do lunch break.
Okay.
Here we play around with it loosely. It can be 5 hours also, 7 hours also, but we try to give like a 45-minute to an hour lunch break. This is all something that ADs have to schedule beforehand. Then, yeah, I mean, basically, if it's a 7 to 7 shift, then usually that's very sunlight dependent. So the good idea is to like wrap by 6.
Hmm.
But yeah, sometimes that doesn't happen. I think if you wrap, like, it's more important to wrap on time than to start on time because after that it becomes a huge production cost. Most of your crew is going to start charging after that.
All right. So, and what is the scope of making mistakes? Because abhi bhi there are films जिसमें दिखाया मतलब the films that are talk about filmmaking to a certain extent उसमें दिखाया
Hmm.
जाता है कि there is one mistake and the person is thrown out. So is there any scope for making mistakes or is it just like you make one mistake and you are like you'll leave?
Uh, I actually have not seen people getting fired.
Hmm.
I have seen people making mistakes. I'm sure I have made mistakes at multiple points. That's normal. You will. because there's a lot of pressure. Sometimes your brain stops working because you're doing 57 things. So, and like I have made stupid mistakes.
Yeah.
There's a take going on and I have walked in the frame.
Oh my God.
While my first AD is screaming on the walkie that, listen, you're in frame, you're in frame. And I'm just standing in the center being like, but where? I have done this. In my first film, while the shot was being set, I tripped on a light stand and I broke the light.
My God.
And nobody asked me how I was. I sprained my ankle, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, the light broke." And I was also like, "Oh my God, the light broke. How will we do this now?" So things like that happen. Of course, like it's it's hard to conceal your mistakes on a set because whatever you screw up is going to be so visible on the screen.
True.
But I also feel like if you work with decent people, and I think that most people are accommodating about it. Obviously, there are exceptions in every industry. Some people just have anger issues. But I have also worked with people who will always cover for you, who will maybe take you aside and then explain that, no, don't do this. But silly mistakes happen all the time. I tell this story to everyone.
Okay.
In my first film, where I was also an intern AD, but I had joined in pre-production. So we prepped for a few months and then we went to shoot. So by that time, I had still wrapped my head around what an AD does. I was not that much of a headless chicken as I could have been. Once we reached there, production was like, we will give you some local interns to help out with things. I'm like, okay, great. More people. So these very sweet 19, 20-year-olds came who had never been on a film set before. They were very excited. So the first thing you learn ideally as an intern is how to give clap, which is very important. And if you screw up, the whole crew is going to curse you. Okay. It's just, there's a saying that if you make any other mistake, it's a mistake. If you screw up clap, it's a sin.
Wow. Right.
Everyone is going to judge you for that. The crew was still very nice about it. Like the DOP would very nicely adjust his camera according to the clap and everything. Never happens. Only that said.
Right.
I remember these two interns who did this 5 times, that they used a permanent marker on the clap.
Oh my God.
My anger knew no bounds. And I was just like, but what can you say? It's an honest mistake, you know? That was the time I found out that permanent marker पे temporary marker से लिख के rub करो तो rub हो जाता है.
Life hacks. Come on.
I never knew I'm going to find this out. Such an unnecessary piece of information.
Right.
But yeah, mistakes happen all the time. It's like, obviously, like you shouldn't repeat a mistake. That's definitely a red flag. That says a lot about you. But once in a while, it's manageable. I'm not gonna say it's okay, but yeah, it's manageable. I think that's a rite of passage.
Yeah. And like, what has been your most difficult day of shooting? Like you just mentioned कि जैसे बच्चों वाली बात हो गई कि अरे यार क्या हो रहा है ये परमानेंट मार्कर नहीं है एंड लाइक सो was there, do you remember any moment which is like, this is the most difficult time for me? And it can be about anything. It can be in terms of the lighting is not proper, it can be crowd interruptions, it can be like the weather going unfavorable.
I had so many of these moments in my last project, which I'm not allowed to talk about that much, but I'll give you an instant.
Sure.
So we were shooting in a vast variety of terrain.
Okay.
So we had to go in the forest also. We had to shoot in an interior setup also, on the roads also. It was a mix of everything. And we were shooting in a very remote location. It's not like Bombay, where you can just take a rickshaw and go. No, it doesn't work like that.
वो भी रिक्शा मिलता नहीं है.
हाँ मतलब एक तो बॉम्बे के बाहर कहीं रिक्शा है ही नहीं उतना फ्रेंडली जितना यहाँ है. So over there the setup was that if you, and we had so many extras, that to kind of get them ready on time and get your actors ready on time, all of us, the crew collectively, had to wake up at 3 a.m. for an 8 a.m. shift. 5 hours it took to get everyone ready. Then you go to the location where you go by a car and then you trek for 5 kilometers to reach the actual location. Now, once you're up there, if you forget something,
Yeah. You have to go back. Oh,
it's
God.
gone. It's deleted from the script if you forget something because there's no way we can actually go back, take an hour.
Like there is literally no going back.
No, because it was not like even land that you're trekking on.
Yeah.
So it used to take us some 20-25 minutes if you're a athletic person.
Okay.
Okay. Which
Okay.
nobody is, by the
Yeah.
way.
Okay.
तुम आधा घंटा लगा के पहुंचे सेट पे उससे पहले द कार राइड इज एटलीस्ट 20 minutes if not more. That is easily an hour. And now you reach up there, you're about to shoot, and then you realize, oh, this accessory I forgot. Nobody's going to wait for that. You're just going to get yelled at, and then you're going to call the writer and be like, listen, we're deleting this. We have to shoot it this way. So there were a bunch of days like that. I remember, I'm so clumsy as a human being.
Okay.
It's disgusting.
Okay.
I'm so clumsy. I don't know how I do what I do. Every shoot, I've hurt myself through nobody's fault but mine. So on this shoot also, I tripped on a route or something like that on the second day and I sprained my ankle. And everyone is telling me that, no, you stay downstairs. It's okay. But I also have FOMO. I'm like, no, how can you do this without me? So I'm climbing. I'm like, no, I'll get this done. I reach there. We're about to roll. And then somebody tells me that one of the cops is supposed to have a gun. And we forgot the gun.
My God.
I'm just like, no, this can't happen. And this is when the whole AD team is practically dying. Okay, somebody has a heat rash, someone has a bad back. It's like everyone, and then we just look at the frame and we were like, okay, it's a mid close, not going to be seen. Great. We told the directors, they were just like, let it be. It's okay. If people are looking at the missing gun, we have made a terrible show. So that whole schedule was kind of very tricky. It was also really fun because honestly, after finishing that project, I was like, if I can do this, I can do anything. Maybe I should join Discovery Channel and make like Crew versus Wild. So that was nice. But I feel like you also, once you're done with 2 or 3 projects in the capacity of any department, actually, whether it's art or wardrobe or ADs, you kind of, your brain starts operating on autopilot because you are familiar with all the fuck ups that can happen. So your brain also anticipates them, that I know every single person who's good at their job, when they go for the first day of shoot, they tell themselves that everything that can go wrong will go wrong. You prepare like that. You prepare for the worst case scenario. So maybe what could have been 20 fuck ups will only be 2. So I guess that's a silver lining in a way. But usually outdoor shoots are a little tricky on the body.
Yeah.
Because most of us are not used to, like, I have actually not seen a single fit person in this industry ever. I've seen a lot of people who join the gym for like 2 months and then give up because a project comes. But I think outdoor shoots are also more fun because Mumbai shoots get so monotonous after a while. You're just like, oh, it's a shoot in Bandra. Okay, I go there every day. Who cares?
Okay. And okay, this might be a very stupid question, but I was just curious. You were talking about food. So food on set. And I just want to know, like, how is food on set? Like, there are people who say कि नहीं यार ये आज ये खाते हैं या वो खाते हैं या फिर whatever catering service is preparing, everyone has to eat it.
You can order, but that is on your expense. Nobody stops you from doing that.
Okay.
Set food depends from production house to production house. Like, it also depends from city to city, I guess, because I've shot a lot in Lucknow and Bhopal. And catering food was amazing over there.
Chalo, I'm glad because I'm from Lucknow. Thank you.
Oh, even I'm from Lucknow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Excellent. Wow, man. We should be talking.
I was so proud. I'm like, yeah, you know what? If Lucknow had disappointed me food-wise, I would just be so ashamed. But it did not.
Really?
And even like Bhopal has a very similar cuisine to Lucknow, for example.
Yeah.
So even their catering was good. The problem with set food mostly is not that it's bad food, it's just that it's same. It's monotonous. So like 5 days in a row, you're having chicken that tastes the same. Paneer also is made in that gravy. It doesn't matter. So I think it's the monotony. It's not the actual food. Plus, a lot of times on set, you're just like you have to eat to go through the day. So जो भी है खा लो मतलब काम करना है whatever. So it's like yeah. But some of the production, like most of the production houses I've worked with, they used to make sure कि हफ्ते में एक बार कुछ अलग Chinese वाइनीज आ जाए, which was a nice gesture.
Right. यार अब मुझे पूछना पड़ेगा, what did you have in Lucknow? What kind of food was served?
Everything that Lucknow is known for. We had chaat also. We
Excellent.
had very good biryani.
Yeah.
We had a lot of kebabs, all of that. Plus, even I think the thing about Lucknow is that Lucknow का सबसे बुरा खाना भी बाकी देश के खाने से अच्छा है. So it's like most of the people who used to working on a set are just pleasantly surprised because they are like, oh wow,
Yeah.
what is this? Are we special?
Excellent. You were saying that before starting the conversation, you were mentioning how, uh, despite making films in 2023 and despite living in these modern times, women are still not getting equal treatment in terms of the work environment, in terms of maybe pay scale, and like the conditions are not, let's say, ideal for women a lot of times. So how is it going on right now? And would you like, yes, I mean, I would like to pass it on to you now. How has it been?
See,
How has it been as working as a woman in the industry for you? And like, is there like, because I'm thinking that the times should change, like things should be different now, because we have entered into a completely different world of filmmaking now, with not just in terms of storytelling but in terms of the technical abilities that we are able to achieve. And I think there is a huge scope for all kinds of posts, be it
right.
women, like gender doesn't matter, it's the talent and the what you bring to the table matters more. So yes, please.
I mean, see, it has like I have spoken to people who are way senior to me, and as per them, things have gotten better. I have been fortunate enough to largely work with people who understand this and they don't discriminate. But sometimes you do land up in an interview or at a job where you suddenly realize that, okay, something is off. It could either be offhanded jokes, like I've been part of teams where I was the only girl or I was one of the two girls. And the conversation that would happen, I'm just like, am I in a boys' locker room? Why are you talking like this? Just go to a corner and talk about these things. And I guess I'm privileged enough to kind of walk out of these projects. A lot of people are not, because at the end of the day, you need to pay bills. You need to suck it up and go through it. But yeah, there are still places where this happens a lot, where people doubt your skill simply because you're a woman. It is much more rampant in smaller cities. Like, for example, if you're doing a Mumbai film, but with an outdoor schedule. I have been to a city in UP actually, where I was supposed to be handling background extras at that time. This is 3 years ago.
Okay.
And this guy, he just looks at me and he's like, he's not answering to me. And I'm asking him that, listen, when are these people going to come? We are ready to shoot. And he's looking right through me. It's like I'm not there. And then I just like got louder that, hey, listen, are you listening to me? And then this guy looks at me and he's like, no, we are waiting for Abhinav sir to come. Abhinav was my intern. And I'm just like, okay. And then Abhinav came and I'm like, this guy is saying he's only going to listen to you. And Abhinav is like, I report to her. And he's just like, मैडम लोगों का काम थोड़ी है. मैडम आप घर जाओ, राइटर बनो, एक्टर बनो. And
Like,
I'm like, what?
these were his exact words.
Yeah, he's like, आप घर जाओ, writer बनो, actor बनो. And I was like, what are you implying, that men can't be actors, men can't write? What does this mean? So, and the thing is that at that time, it's also like, what are you going to do by fighting back? Because that guy is not going to change his mind because I said that, no, you're wrong. So in that moment, you complain about it to production team, which I did, and then people intervened. He even apologized, but I'm sure that did not change his mindset because that's just internalized misogyny that you have. Similarly, in Mumbai also, there are some places where, like as I said, that some positions are reserved for women and some for men, which is, I think we need to look past it. Even though a lot of these assumptions are not made with an ill intent, it's just a thing. Like sometimes they're even discriminatory towards men. That if you say ki, oh, you're a woman, so you should handle actors because you can talk nicely to them, you're essentially saying कि आदमियों को सही से बात करना नहीं आता, which is not true. You know, you're essentially saying कि अच्छा, you're smart, you're well spoken, so you must be a woman. Again, not true. Like I know some fantastic second seconds who are men, and they do full justice to their jobs. Similarly, I know a lot of women who do first AD, who do second AD, and they are very good. It's just like these are things that you will get better at with experience, and that's it. It doesn't matter what you identify as. You know, you have been on 20 film sets, so you have the experience, you're capable, and that's about it. I feel like still, I mean, I would still say that the sexism in industry is not different from any other industry. This is there everywhere. Even in corporate, this is there. Overall, in this universe, presently, women are discriminated against. It's like I remember in my batch itself back in college, there was
Mhm.
obviously like a very weird ratio we had in film class. There were maybe, I don't know, 8 girls and some 22, 24 boys.
Sure.
And all of us wanted to work on set. Obviously, that's why you would join a mass comm or a film school. And a lot of us ended up taking desk jobs after that. A lot of my friends are in corporate, they do advertising. Very few of us actually work on set. And the kind of stories I hear from women and what I have lived through, it's so different from what men go through. Something as basic as 80% of the sets do not have female washrooms, which is it's just so like I had heard about it, but I didn't know it'll be so common. I have actually like had fights on set where I'm like, but why is there not a female washroom? And they are like, but there are just two women. And I'm like, sure, but where do the two of us go? What does that mean? I have been fortunate enough to work for people who did not care. They hired me based on my capabilities. But I have also been on sets where I was trying to run the set and people have told me that, oh, madam, please go outside, you will get hurt. And I'm like, I get that you're concerned, but it's from such a horrible place because if I was a guy, you would not be saying these things to me. I know how to walk across a set. They just think that she's a girl, she's going to walk into light stands or, just trip on a wire or something, which is something that can happen with anyone. And even like, there are very few female first ADs. And the handful of them that are there, they are very good at their jobs.
Mm.
But it's this stereotype that if you're a female first AD, you're going to be a bitch about it. Like you're somebody with anger issues, you're very ragey, which is
Mhm.
not true. I think that is something you have to kind of do in order to run a whole set, which is full of 200 men. Otherwise, they're not going to take you seriously.
Of course.
So, but yeah, like, I mean, ideally, I feel like if I ever become a first AD, which is not in my plan, but if I do, if I do, then I would definitely at least once like to have an all women team just to like prove it to myself and others that, hey, this can be done. Look, not a single boy in the team, but we made a film.
So is this thing like is this happening in film schools as well? Like जैसे अभी there are a lot of fields where, let's say, uh if you take the English language courses in where for the graduation. So if a boy takes up the course, you're like कि, oh, you want to read English really?
Hmm.
Like ये तो मतलब ये तो girls लड़कियां ज्यादा prefer करेंगी. So
Hmm.
is this happening in film schools? Is this like, what is the ratio of men and women in film schools?
I
Because
mean,
I feel this is something that it's behavior at a set is something
hmm.
that should also be uh that is something that should be learned at film school as well, because that is the place from where you are learning about the world of
Hmm.
filmmaking and what all happens in the world of filmmaking and what all people you will be working with when you are making a film if you get an opportunity. So how was your experience in film school?
I mean, okay, this is a very unpopular opinion,
Okay.
but I don't think film schools are necessary at all, whether you're a man or a woman. I did mass comm because I didn't want to study anything else and I wanted to chill my way through, watch films. So that's what I did. But I don't know the reason behind it, but all the film schools I have visited, which was quite a lot because I was in this event planning thingy in my own college and my own institution as well. Somehow in the film specialization, women would be less. And I was doing a mass comm course, not a exclusive films course. But in other film schools also, I have seen that for more technical things like cinematography and sound and everything else, yeah, overall, actually, there are more men. I do not know the reason for this because I have not heard people say that, oh, film is a very masculine thing. So I genuinely don't understand why the ratios are skewed. But that's what I have seen. Overall, I feel like again, if you want to pursue something that is a technical craft, then sure, go to a film school because by the time you graduate, you'll be familiar with the equipment. You will know how to operate, even editing for that matter. But if you want to be a writer, director, they're not going to teach you something that you don't know, I feel. What they're going to tell you is that, acha, story likho, beginning, middle, end. But kya likho? That is something that you have to do. The only thing I'm grateful about for my college is that I got a job via their placement cell, which is a job I held on to for 2 months at max. And then the
Mhm.
company went bankrupt, by the way. And then I had a
Okay.
panic attack for 15 days. But yeah, I got placed, which is again something that most mass comm and film schools don't even guarantee. It's sheer good luck that you get placed. Otherwise, half of the people don't because the industry is very unorganized. Second thing I'm grateful for is that I've watched a lot of good films, which is something that you need to have discipline for to actually watch. And you get to critically analyze things, which again, people go so overboard with, oh my God. But still, that's a skill that's good to have.
Watching, like when you were talking about how has been, so sorry, I'm so much, I've already, you have told me so much that I've lost my flow ki yaar, what should I ask, because I was not expecting this conversation to be so overwhelming in a good way, of course.
I hope.
Because no, of course, I mean, you have opened so many doors for me as a film enthusiast. I'm like, wow, man, this is excellent. This is going on very well. How has it been from Lucknow to Mumbai? How has it been for you? Like, uh, do you like Mumbai? क्योंकि अभी भी वो बोला जाता है ना कि मुंबई इज लाइक वो क्या सपनों का शहर है. अभी भी काफी फिल्म्स में the portrayal is there.
Of course.
Yeah. So what do you think? Is it actually the city of dreams, or everyone has to find their own way in Mumbai? Nobody is going to give it to you on a silver platter or anything. So don't have too much of expectations. Just go and work.
No, I mean, see, that's definitely true that there's no silver platter,
Ah,
unless, of course, you are born with a certain kind of privilege. Even then, I feel like sometimes it's tricky. But the thing is, so I have grown up all across the country. I have grown up in like 7 different cities. And every time my parents would get a transfer letter or something like that, I would never feel attached to the city that I was leaving for some reason. Like I would get bored very easily that abhi ho gaya, 4 saal ho gaya, abhi chalo. And I would keep in touch with a few people, of course, but overall, I was very happy with that pace of life that you spend some time and you move on. Mumbai is the one city where I have been since late 2019 now, I guess. And then for about 6 months, I wasn't here because of COVID. But this is one city that I have felt most comfortable in. And I love the fact that I have a house here. I love the fact that you can go out at any point. Nobody's going to look at you the wrong way. It's so safe for women. which is something that you can't say about any other city in this country. It's like, no, it doesn't matter what you're wearing, it doesn't matter what you do. You live here, so you're a part of the city, and that's about it. Like, and I have had so many dramatic days in this city where I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to quit this industry and I don't want to do this. I should do an MBA, blah, blah, blah. And then I come home and in that auto ride, I'm just like, no, no, कुछ नहीं आता मेरे को और करना है, मेरे को यही करना है. So I think that's great. And I feel like people keep saying that the industry is very toxic, but industry belongs here. Like, I mean, obviously not to degrade all the other coexisting film industries at all, but I don't think it's very practical to say कि Bombay की industry relocate हो जाएगी. That is something that's A, unrealistic, and B, why? Like, why do you have to do this? I think we have a flourishing industry here. I think overall, if you live here, you're so exposed to different kinds of art, culture. Even now, I feel like if I have time, I would love to go to a Prithvi theater or a Veda factory and just watch something, like it's like everywhere in the country, people are like, oh, theater is a dying art form. But Mumbai is like, fuck, no, it isn't. Nothing is a dying art form in this city. So I think that's great. I still, like, I was so surprised because while I was growing up, I would always be like, oh, I'm bored of this city, let's move on. Ever since I've moved here, if I go for an outdoor shoot or if I go visit my family, after a week, I'm like, fuck, I have to go to Bombay. I can't be far. I feel like I'm going to get so much hate for calling it Bombay. But anyway,
there are still a lot of
happens
people.
all the day.
There are still a lot of people that like to call it Bombay and not Mumbai. It's fine, trust me. And I'm sure there are a lot of actors as well, a lot of senior actors who still call it Bombay. कि मैं बॉम्बे में आया था या आई थी, whatever.
Dude, on my last reel, which was not about this,
right,
there are people fighting in the comments, and I open my Insta and there's like, oh, 471 notifications, and I'm like, oh wow, people are listening to me. No.
oh no.
They're fighting on what the city is called.
My God.
There is one comment which has some 500 replies. It's still going on till today evening. People are fighting on that comment.
Since you are now becoming a part of social media, apart from being from the world of filmmaking, so I just had this thought about social media in general, and if you allow me, I would like to discuss a little bit about it, since you just mentioned, and you mentioned exactly what I'm thinking. Ki, I feel the comment section on every social media platform, be it YouTube, be it Twitter, Instagram, whatever, that entire section is a social media in its own. People are not commenting for appreciating or critiquing the creator or the जिसका वो account है, but they are just doing it because they want to get validated from the likes and the comments, and that is why we have such templatized replies. कौन कहता है माँ बाप के चरणों में स्वर्ग है? That is just one example. That is just one example, but like you have these templatized replies to every single post, especially on YouTube when it comes to trailers. I mean, if you open any movie trailer, you will find these comments which are like, okay, this, okay, so it's sab same hai. Everything is the same. So have you experienced something like this with your account on Instagram, now that you are into content creation as well?
So I feel like, again, like I never expected that this particular reel is going to kind of blow up, because my Insta has always been kind of a data dump where I will post anything and everything. I'm going to rant about, I don't know, my shirt being crumpled, or just talk about something else. So I did not expect that this will, but I guess there are a lot of underpaid people out there who resonated. Okay. So, but I have noticed that, like, sometimes no matter what you say, no matter who you are going to get hate. I could be talking about, I don't know, eradicating hunger, and people would still send me hate that, oh, how can you say that? No, people deserve to be hungry. You could be talking about anything. Like, people will just disagree. And this is so weird because most of these accounts that write these paragraphs, you just check their profiles out. There will be 4 followers, 7,000 following, no DP, nothing. It's just some sad person behind a screen trying to make themselves feel important. And if you think about it that way, you're just like, oh, I feel sad for you now. I'm not angry at you anymore. But it happens so much, like my reel that got viral. I made a lot of friends through that who I'm glad about. But there were some people who just started, trash talking the industry, which I was like, this is so not my point. Like you're just leaving comments like, oh, this is why there are so many drugs in the industry. No, what? There are drugs everywhere, first of
Yeah,
all.
exactly.
People are talking about, like nepotism, which I understand it's a topic that you can converse about, but don't talk trash about other human beings. People are just then there were some people who were like, अच्छा film industry में इतना मिलता है, engineers को तो इतना मिलता है. अच्छा, you're getting 25K, I तो survived on 5K. And I'm like, but why? Who asked you to survive on 5K? That's not the flex you think it is. So I genuinely feel that most of these people are, I don't know, lonely, I guess, or looking for some form of validation because on the internet, what sells is controversy.
Mm.
That's it. You have no point to make, but you said something so deeply unpopular that some edgy people are just going to be there and be like, oh no, we support this.
Right.
So yeah, like I mean, honestly, after like last year where I posted, I don't even remember what I posted, but somehow it attracted a very specific kind of people
Mm.
who were just leaving, like horrible abuses, disgusting emojis and all of that. And I mass blocked. And even now, if even like one commenter is abusing another commenter, I'm like, no, block. That's it. Not going to argue.
Right.
It's like hitting my head on a wall. My head is the one getting hurt. Wall doesn't care.
Mm. I was having this same conversation recently with the Ram Venkat Srikar, who's a very popular film journalist,
Hmm.
and he also mentioned that exactly the same, that people have become so intolerant to your opinions that they'll just start, abusing you for something that you like. Like, let's say if you say, I like this particular film, and yeah, this film is good, the acting is good, and whatnot. If you just talk about that, you will get comments like, but wait, how can you like this film? This is such a bad movie and all that. So, and then I asked him, and he also explained that it has become a necessity to justify something as
Hmm.
simple as not liking or liking something, which can be a movie or anything, right? But thank you so much for discussing this. I'm so glad I could talk about this with you. But yes, coming back to
Hmm.
the world of filmmaking, are there any differences between shooting a web series and a film, in terms of like production schedules, not necessarily in terms of the duration, because of course you one
Of
is
course. No.
one is long form storytelling and other is a little shorter form, but like in
Hmm.
terms of the overall functioning, are there any differences?
Yeah. So if like in a web show in that long of a format, you try to shoot more number of pages in a day than a film.
Okay.
So in a film, the max, if it's a very heavy day, you'll go is like 4 to 5 pages max, which is also rare. We try to do as less as possible. We like to take our time with it so that we can achieve the perfect scene. In web shows, there's not that option because OTTs are involved. You have deadlines to make, and plus OTTs usually involve so much scale that a film will have maybe in all its entirety 80 characters. A
Hmm.
web show, one episode will have at least 50, at least, because so you have to match all of that. So I have done both films and shows, and in
Yeah.
shows, we have shot like 9-10 pages in a day. That is the average that you aim for. The 8 to 10 pages you have to achieve, otherwise, your schedule will just go on. That's an average you have to maintain. So this is like a huge thing in films also and web shows also कि इतना number of days है तो इतना ही मिलेगा. You go one day overboard and the whole budget is all over the place. You can't. So as a first AD, again, your job is that somehow fit that schedule in the designated number of days. If you manage to finish even half a day prior, you're great at your job. You're brilliant if you manage to do that. So that is the primary difference. Obviously, in web shows, the scale of everything is bigger, which in films it is not, because you only have about 2 hours to tell your story. So there's a limited number of things that will be there. In series, it's like there are recurring characters. You saw him in first episode, then you'll see him again in third. Technically, a web show is like multiple films. Each episode is a film. So it's obviously, I would say it's a little trickier because everything becomes so detailed. You know, like continuity is so tricky when it comes to web shows because you are not going to be shooting in a linear order. Today, I'm starting my day with shooting the 18th scene of 6th episode. After this, I will go to the 5th scene of first episode.
Wow. Okay.
Then I'm going to go to the climax.
Okay. Okay.
So you need to keep these things in mind कि अभी आज हमने 6th episode का एक scene shoot कर लिया, अब हम 6th episode का एक scene एक हफ्ते बाद shoot करेंगे. So now I have to match everything to the brink. कि sleeve कहाँ पे थी costume की,
Right.
dialogue कहाँ पे कैसे लिया था, hair was tied, open, whatever. And this is just from a wardrobe perspective, but everything overall, art continuity, script supervision, everything. So this is my belief that if you ideally have done both, it's great, because if you have just done either of them, then it's a little tricky to kind of transition into the other one. So ideally, it's good that you have worked on both web shows and a film.
So is there any particular reason why it is not linear in when it comes to web shows?
So it's usually not linear even in films, because it's very impractical to schedule it in a linear way. Because even the most simplest of the stories, let's say that my story is just that I met a boy today at my office. Then we went to the balcony to have coffee. We decided we like each other, so we were like, oh, let's go watch a film. हम मूवी देखने गए, अगले दिन हम फिर से ऑफिस में मिले. Now this, if I want to shoot it linear, that means I have to shoot 3 locations in a day. Office, balcony, movie theater, and then next day I have to come back to office. So I'm not going to do that because I'll be paying for that one location twice. Instead, I'm going to do that. No, one day shoot all the office scenes together, next day shoot all balcony scenes together, and then the movie theater. Because locations are the most expensive thing. Location, actor fees, like the lead fees actually, not all actors, and your set design. These are some of the most expensive departments, even your camera equipment and stuff. So you have to kind of take care of all these things. You can't kind of compromise on this because हमें linear shoot करना है. Ideally, that's every director's wish list, because even for actors, it's very convenient. Otherwise, actors also have to switch a lot. But it very rarely happens. It happens a lot in short films and stuff because the scale is that much lower. But yeah, not really in long format.
Okay. I have to ask you this because you have been highlighting this a lot with your reels, especially. What is it about this job, your job, which do you think is not getting highlighted or acknowledged? Is it just remunerations or the hard work that folks like you put into, or a culmination of everything?
See, I mean, remuneration wise, there are still, like, there are some new age production houses who have recently started, say in the last 5 years or so, who actually pay their employees well. Because my belief is that because those are all run by young people who have gone through these problems. So now they have decided that no, when we hire people, we are going to pay them well. And even some of the bigger ones, they try their best. There are select few who are just like, no, you're not going to pay. It's just not happening. So I personally avoid working for them, but that's my call. More than the remuneration, I feel like within the industry, there are some jobs that can get very thankless after a point.
Okay.
It's like, people like art assistants, people like costume supervisors, ADs, production crew, they work their asses off. And everyone does. It's not like we are the only people who do that. Everyone works their asses off, of course. But there's no recognition. I mean, have you ever seen an award show for a first AD? No. Most people don't even, like, till now I know a lot of people who are not a part of the industry but who are very dear friends or family who actually don't understand what I do for a living. They are just like, oh, you're in the film industry.
हाँ, आप पिक्चर
They
बनाते हो
don't
ना
know
बस.
what I
हाँ.
do. Huh. Some
Right.
people are just like, acha, okay, you act. Oh, no, camera operate karna aata. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't know how to explain this because as an AD, all I do is paperwork. That's the extent of it. If I skip on my paperwork, I'm going to do a shitty job. So I think it's also like कि there are situations where sometime as a crew member you feel कि तुम पैसे भी नहीं दे रहे हो और तुम recognition भी नहीं दे रहे हो. So like give me something, at least either I should be financially stable or I should feel emotionally fulfilled. Something has to be there. So far, I think I have seen one more podcast of this friend of a friend
Okay.
that hosted some of the ADs. That's because this girl knew them. That's because this girl herself is in the film industry, so she knew. Otherwise, it's like films win awards, everyone else wins awards, but largely the laymen don't know what 80% of your crew is actually doing. It's like if you actually like I know such few people who sit through the credits of a film. And I get it, it's monotonous, it's boring, but if you think about it that way, that if your name was coming in that list of 50 ADs or 50 VFX artists, you would want your friends to watch, right? Because this is something
Absolutely.
you have given 6 months to.
Absolutely.
So I think it's a mix of both. It's not just remuneration. I think remuneration wise, it's like Mumbai is a very expensive city to live in. So that also contributes to it. Maybe if I was getting 25,000 in a Bhopal, I would be considered so well off. My rent would barely be 10K,
Right.
something like that. Here, the rent starts there. So it all contributes to it. But yeah, I think it's a mix of both, Matlab, sometimes it happens like it has happened with a friend of mine who prepped for a film and shot the film, and then through nobody's fault, his credit had the wrong spelling of his name.
Okay.
And he was so upset about it. And even I guess I would be upset too, but it's an
Right.
honest error. Because after those months of, like working 24/7, you're just like, oh my God, my name is going to come up there. Somebody who cares is going to watch and be, oh, there was an AD called Manasvi who contributed something to this.
Like abhi, I think now people have started watching credits to watch the post credit scene. I agree, but now I see this funny kind of an excitement amongst the people in the theater ki oh अरे Indian का नाम आ रहा है, Indian का नाम आ रहा
Oh my God,
है.
yeah.
So
I have been that person.
so but see, that is, I feel this, I take it in a positive way that people are at least able to spot, because when you talk
Huh.
about films that are being done like a Marvel film or a DC film or even films like Brahmastra, I'm sure there are
Yeah.
tons and tons of people
Hmm.
who have done so much of work. Like I came across the profile of Leena Katole. She is a VFX artist, and
Hmm.
every time, now I've started following her, but
Yeah.
every time she sees her credit, she'll put a circle and say ki very happy to get this recognition. I'm so happy, and she has worked on some amazing projects. I hope
I'm sure.
I hope I get lucky enough to invite her to understand more about the process. But I think now at least this small inclination towards finding Indian people at least
Hmm.
has started कि यार हाँ credits देख लो कि होता क्या है.
Yeah, of course.
There are so many people in this process. Do you think filmmaking has now become way easier, or is there still a level of difficulty?
Um, I think technically we have come very far, which is great. I recently did this project where we were actually using a film camera to shoot and not digital, which was an experience in itself. The footage was beautiful, but it also required so much discipline. It's unreal because with digital, there's nothing like that. You're not
Right.
wasting a can, you
Yeah,
know.
of course.
With digital, you're just like, oh, I got my take, but for luck, I'll take one more. Oh, why don't I put my camera through the chair and take one more? With film, you can't do that because it's so expensive and you have to know exactly what you want. Even stuff like short breakdown, script supervision, the formats are completely different with film. So I feel like I felt very fortunate that I have done a film like that because I know a lot of people who haven't. But I still feel that for my first film, I would definitely like to go down the digital path because it gives you a certain kind of liberty. And hopefully, if you're on the right track, you will still be disciplined and shoot on digital. Apart from other things, I feel like things have largely become very organized because I know people, I know colleagues who, I know a person who was actually one of the lighting crew on Bacha. Okay. Which I was like, okay, that's like so long ago. I don't even know when it came out. But he used to tell us. Then I know somebody who worked on this other film, some classic, I don't remember the name of, but like 90s.
Okay.
And they used to tell us that there was nothing like a call sheet. It would just be like through phone or word of mouth that, oh, tomorrow 5 a.m. So, and now if you see even an average, not very detailed call sheet, the detailing will blow your mind. We try to put in everything, every single thing. If an actor is supposed to drink a cup of tea, we are going to put that and we are going to write that do not put sugar in this
Wow.
because she doesn't eat sugar or something like that. So it's fascinating to me that people worked in a disorganized fashion and still great films got made. I could never. But I think people have gotten pretty organized now, which is good also because people have also gotten unionized. So now film crew members are more aware of their rights. They also have a more systematic way of working. So there's always less scope for error. Like you see a lot of old films which are fantastic films, but if you
Hmm.
pay attention, there will be some continuity errors, something that maybe this
Hmm.
could have been a tad bit better, you know.
Yeah.
But nowadays that doesn't happen that much because all of us are doing our jobs with a lot more resources.
या फिर वो गेम ऑफ थ्रोन्स वाला सीन हो जाएगा कि स्टारबक्स कप
Oh,
बन जाए.
that was a publicity stunt. I'm so positive about it. No way. There's
Right.
no way that a whole crew did not notice that.
Exactly. Like ऐसा भी नहीं है ना कि the colors are so off of that cup. I mean, it's a low.
I was
Like,
like, this is the kind of mistake that a script supervisor would get fired about, but she or he did not. So
right.
clearly, it's a marketing strategy, a good one, but yeah.
Right. Uh, Last couple of questions. So, first of all, dream filmmaker जिसके साथ काम करना है या
Just
filmmakers.
one.
नहीं, of course, plural. Filmmakers जिनके साथ काम करना है.
David Lynch.
Wow.
Uh, and over here, I think it would be.
Okay, so just David Lynch from outside India. Like,
No, I'm thinking.
okay.
Oh, this Asian filmmaker called Alice Wu.
Okay.
She made this Netflix film last year or 2 years ago. It's called The Half of It.
Hmm.
So I really liked her storytelling because
Okay.
she focuses a lot on like these rom-coms and stuff, but they're all beautiful and unique, which is such a task. And I guess from here it would be, I mean, I really look up to Zoya Akhtar. I really do. I think she has this fantastic way of storytelling. So her for sure. And also Karan Johar.
Okay.
I can imagine this is an unpopular answer, but I feel like I've grown up watching these amazing romances, which I don't know, it's an aesthetic, you know. I
Yeah.
feel like that bench scene from Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna, that's such a beautiful frame. You know, leaves are flying, a soccer player and a bride are sitting next to each other. I definitely want to like get a taste of that.
My favorite Karan Johar film is Kal Ho Na Ho. There is
Oh, I
there is
cried like a bitch.
there is there is nothing that even comes closer to Kal Ho Na Ho, and when Shah Rukh Khan is
Read the
मतलब
diary.
नहीं नहीं डायरी तो जो
Then
पढ़ लिया ठीक है डायरी हो गई बट when he tells her the lie that Sonali Bendre is my wife and when she
ah,
और फिर उसके बाद वो जब कहता है ना कि कैसे कह दूं उससे ओ गॉड
pain.
भारी मात्रा में पेन बट या
No, but I think
आई
my
मीन
favorite sequence was in Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna. Ek to it was such an unpopular film at that time because everyone was like, "How can Shah Rukh cheat? No, this is not right." And my
राइट
parents did not let me watch it, okay, because I
ओके
was in school
ओके
and they were like, "No, this is a grown-up film." So I watched the film in college, which was just a few years ago, and
या
I was like, "Oh, this is great." And I fell in love with that monologue where they meet at the train station after fighting with their partners.
राइट
Where Shah Rukh Khan is telling her that he misses his train every day just so he could see her. And I was like, oh, this isn't love. Oh my God.
सही है excellent so talking about films and like you just mentioned that you have been watching a lot of cinema and I'm sure you are so any films that you would like to recommend which you think are not just for entertainment but they can also teach you in some way or the other about how cinema is actually created, cinema is made.
Mm, that's a very, I don't
Like,
know, pressurizing requirement.
nahi, but like, okay, you can like name just 3 films or 4 films. I'm not asking like a huge list, but like 3 to 4 films which you feel that, oh, this is like my Mount Rushmore of cinema. कि यार ये इससे अच्छा तो कुछ नहीं है.
Hmm. Okay, wait, I'm thinking. Okay, yeah, I think Sunset Boulevard is a classic. And yeah, I think it's iconic. I mean, because I remember I watched it in college and I was of the opinion that black and white film, मेरे को नहीं देखना. But I was so immersed in it. Plus, it's about the industry. And that closing frame is iconic.
Hmm.
I might be spoiling this for people,
Ah, that's fine.
but
That's fine. No worries.
like this fading actress who has lost her sanity, coming to the camera completely out of her wits while cops are here to arrest her, and she's like, Mr. Demille, I'm ready for my close up. That is such a reflection of how a lot of industry people view their success, like, which is also depressing but hopeful. So I think Sunset Boulevard is definitely up there. I think I also really like this film called Ruby Sparks.
Okay.
So if I'm not wrong, this was an adaptation of something Asian, but I haven't seen the original film. I've seen Ruby Sparks. So this is about a writer who wrote one great novel and then he couldn't write ever again. And he has these mental health issues going on. And he basically starts writing about his ideal woman. And then the woman comes to life.
Oh, wow.
So the whole movie is about whether you're in love with a person or whether you're in love with the idea of being in love. So this woman does everything that he writes. And then when he stops writing and she starts to become her own person, he has a problem. That
Oh.
no, this is not what I asked for. And it's a very indie film, and they have shot it with such less resources.
I don't know
But
why this film reminds me of that Joaquin Phoenix film Her. Like it's one of my favorite
oh
films of all
yeah,
time.
but it's like
Yeah.
it's a little it's funnier than her.
Yeah, of course.
Like her is very beautiful and sentimental. Ruby
Absolutely.
Sparks is a little like quirky.
Right.
It'll make you laugh also, and
Nice.
it's not that popular. I saw it on TV when I was a kid. So I think these two films, plus I think my film taste kind of oscillates between psychological thrillers and action and proper chick flicks.
Okay.
So it's like I love Promising Young Woman, which I
Thank
do.
you.
I love that film. But
Dude,
I also love The Devil Wears Prada.
okay, please stop. Thank you so much for mentioning Promising Young Woman. God, the ending. My God, I was blown away with the ending of that film. because not many people talk about Promising Young Woman, and it is such
Really?
yeah, I hardly find anyone talking about Promising Young Woman. It is such a क्या बोलूं यार, it's such a great film. Thank you so
It
much for
was
mentioning.
groundbreaking. Like I was
Absolutely.
reeling. I'm like, oh, what did you make?
मतलब, like the film ended with that song, Just Call Me an Angel, the
Oh
Morning
God,
Angel,
yeah.
and I was like, okay, what? I
Yeah,
was like,
no, by that time I was like, somehow you took it to another level.
it's like, thank you so much for mentioning. Thank you. All right. So these three, any bonus recommendations, or I think should we get done with it?
Three billboards.
Oh, nice pick.
Yeah, because I remember so it was nominated for an Academy Award, if I'm not wrong.
Yep.
And that is the year when Shape of Water was also nominated. So I was like, no, Shape of Water seems more intellectual, so I shall go watch that first.
Okay.
And I slept in the theater. This is the first time ever.
Wow.
I was just like, what is going on? What is happening? And then I tried again. This time I went a little bit drunk. Didn't help. And then
Oh,
the third day, someone was like, let's watch three billboards. And the only thing I remembered about that film was the actress walking with a bottle in her hand. It looks like she's about to break it on the girl's head, but she doesn't. And I was
but
like, yeah, this seems more my alley. So I'll watch this.
nice. Excellent. All right. Last question, and I think this
Hmm.
is a very obvious question that what from your experience, what advice do you have for someone who wants to enter this industry, uh, for any discipline, not just assistant direction or writing, for any discipline? What would you say? Ki, this is what happens and you have to be prepared.
I think a lot of us join this industry because we are looking for fame or validation or a very specific kind of success, which is, I feel it's not the right approach to it. You join the industry if you want to make something. That should be your primary motivation, because there will be times when none of these things will be there. You will not have success, you will not have fame, you will come home after working for 18 hours, you will survive on bread and bananas. And at that time, it's very important to remember that, okay, materialistic bliss and so called success is not there, but I still have my art, which is which should be your motivation. Like if that is something you're striving for, excellence will come at some point. Because something that I also struggle with till date, like if someone tells me that, oh, you're a fantastic AD, I'm going to think about it for 2 days and I'll be like, oh wow, so sweet. And then I'll remember that I never even wanted to become an AD, I wanted to become a writer. And it's been 15 days since I wrote, because I'm happy where I am. So this is something that you have to keep motivating yourself with, that you might be the best assistant in the world in any department, but that's not the end goal. You have to make something of your own. That is why you came here in the first place. I also feel like it's very easy, as people say, it's very easy to kind of go astray in the industry because it's a very non-judgmental open space and you get a lot of freedom. But it's good to kind of find your circle of maybe even 3 to 4 people and stick to them, because for a lot of us, it's such a liberating experience that I'm going to be living in the most expensive city in the country. Oh, there are bars everywhere, nobody's stopping me, and all of that, which is fine. Like, sure, party your way through, but don't forget what you're here for, which is like one of my biggest fears. I feel like I'm going to be in my late 30s and not having made anything, which, yeah, I hope that doesn't happen. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely encourage more people to come. And I just want to say that this is not all limelight and chilling. It's a beautiful space where you get to be who you are. So yeah, that's about it. Just make sure that like your head is in the right space.
And don't use a permanent marker for sure.
Oh my God, I still get angry when I think about it.
With that, I would just like to say thank you so much, Manasvi. This has been a fantastic conversation. And
Thank you.
I have had such amazing learning from you that I forgot what I had to talk about. but but I think this is what cinema does to people like you and me when we start getting into the nitty-gritties and how films are made, how stories are told. So I think this was supposed to happen. Thank you for making this happen. And I'm so glad that you are my next guest on, like, you are my next guest on the podcast. Thank you so much for this. A creator like me, someone who, again, not a film school graduate, nothing, self learn, सब कुछ पिक्चर विक्चर देख के लेटर बॉक्स पे लिस्ट बना बना के यहाँ तक आया हूँ. But like, it's a big deal for me to have someone like you talking to someone like you. And
Come on,
the
stop.
nahi, seriously, yaar, the least that I can say is thank you and wishing you all the very best. And uh, don't lose hope. I'm sure someday we will see on the big screen written directed by Manasvi Singh Rajput. So
Oh my God, I'm going to cry. Stop.
no. I am not going to. No, not that is not going to happen. But thank you so much. Thank you so much for this conversation.